Hey, it's Fungal, and today I'll be talking about why certain Pokemon are stronger or weaker in draft compared to standard play, or even banned in some cases. And along the way, you might learn a thing or two about building, because in order to understand what makes a Pokemon strong in the first place, you need to understand the value of role fulfillment. Normally, when teaching people how to draft good teams, a lot of terms come up. You want good type cores, good speed tiers, utility mons, you can lean into certain archetypes, etc. One of the things I think doesn't come up enough is role overlap on a team. And to give you the basics of what I mean, I'll show you an example. Let's look at Chi-Yu, a mon that I think is very misunderstood by the majority of newer draft players, who mainly come from Smogon backgrounds. Now, let me ask you, what does Chi-Yu do? Well, it's a special wall breaker. Beads of Ruin makes it output insane amounts of damage, with Fire and Dark being a good and hard to resist stab combo. It even has Nasty Plot and Taunt to muscle past certain walls. Many players see this and think, how can I buff up its damage output even more, and draft it alongside Sun? Now, I'm not saying Sun Chi-Yu is bad, every team is different, and I've seen some players get lots of value out of Chi-Yu with certain Sun structures. But for the most part, I rarely see it actually perform compared to when it's picked as a standalone on regular teams. And why is that? Well, the answer is Chi-Yu faces stiff competition in its role as a wall breaker on an archetype which already exerts huge offensive pressure. For starters, Walking Wake, Great Tusk, Roaring Moon, Venusaur, and other similar mons are generally straight up better. Although their damage output isn't quite on par with the funny Calcfish, these mons are already an absolute nightmare to switch into when they're running choice or setup sets. But what sets them apart from Chi-Yu is the ability to fulfill multiple roles. Wake and Moon can run speed boosting sets and become sweepers, Venusaur has insane speed under Sun naturally, and Great Tusk provides insane utility for a hazard weak archetype. All of these mons, after a little change in EVs, can completely shift gear from a wall breaker to a sweeper. And how does Chi-Yu do it? Well, it can commit its item to a choice scarf, I suppose. Sun is a very point-hungry playstyle to begin with, and doesn't make much sense to commit to a fire-type wall breaker, but if you really need one, you could just grab base Charizard for less than half its cost. Zard performs remarkably similar under Sun too, in exchange for more of a Rock's weakness, you get Solar Beam and a ground immunity. In addition to thinking about competition, we also need to think about counterplay. Chi-Yu wasn't banned from OU because of its matchup and offense. It was banned because of how it ran through bulky teams. Offense was one of the best ways to deal with it actually. It's frail, Rock's weak, and not too fast. That sounds remarkably similar to Sun, doesn't it? When you match up into a guy with Walking Wake and Roaring Moon, defensively dealing with them is going to be borderline impossible already. You'll have to bring hazards in order to chip them down to priority range, or surprise a Zultfest to get some chip on Wake. Maybe run itemless Zapdos to live a knock from Roaring Moon and land a 2-wave. Or Scarf on Iron Valiant, so after you throw off a close combat, you could switch out and come back in later with that speed boost still active. My point is, Chi-Yu is one-dimensional. It does its job well, but stacking its role on a team that shares the same strengths and weaknesses isn't going to do any favors. No one's going to draft Chi-Yu next to Landers Incarnate or Iron Moth. You're going to be much better off on more defensive teams, which can switch into those revenge killers or remove hazards. And now that you understand how role synergy works, you'll see a common theme among Ubers that we allow in draft. Look at Annihilate. It might walk over defensive cores with Taunt and Bulk Up, but if you hard switch in the Golden Gore Zapdos, what's it going to do? Go for the 50 base power Rage Fist? Granted, it does have counterplay to those mons, but the idea stands. Dorkovish hits like a truck with only one move and only if it goes first. If it runs Scarf, most bulky switch-ins can take hits, and if it runs Band, it's super easy to be revenged or abused by faster mons. Not to mention, it's super hazard weak. Zamazenta Crowned also finds itself being worse than its base form. Although its typing and stats are definitely better, the ability for the hero form to fill many more roles than Crowned makes it much more versatile. It can be a banned wall breaker, run sub to avoid status, Scarf to become a revenge killer, or even recover with leftovers. On the other side of the coin, mons that are normally fine in singles become much more viable in draft if they can fill multiple roles. Although they might be outclassed by another or min-max mon in a certain role, their ability to perform all of these different functions makes them much more useful in a wider variety of teams. And that's going to be it for today. Next time you run into a massive threat to your team, like Chien-Pao, try to think about how you can lure it in and KO it, rather than stressing about switching in. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe and I'll see you all next time.